Namaste, viewers, and welcome to this third and concluding part of our Insight. And it's our inaugural program. As I mentioned to you in the earlier couple of episodes, that in a way it's based on this article, Merit is Destiny. India can reap its democratic dividend only by harnessing its talent. Thank you, Amrita ji, for posting it there, showing it to our viewers. It was published in Open Magazine. It's easily available. You can download it, read it, and send in your comments, share it. But over to you, Amrita ji. Thank you so much for joining us. And those who joined late, Amrita ji is a techie. She's in the Bay Area, and she is the curator and the anchor of the Kesher Club, the book club, where Kashmir-related topics and books are discussed. It's a fantastic, I think, initiative, and do check it out. So over to you, Amrita ji.
Right, thanks. So this is our third 3 of 3 discussion session on the article, and now continuing, we have our last question in that subtopic of governance and or definition of democratic dividend. The last point was about nepotism in politics and how we might have, corruption could be related to it, but also how being a devil's advocate, nepotism in politics might be a required thing for us to have good politicians, seasoned politicians who are training their or their kids, learning from them from childhood to be in that system, so that we have some expertise in politics. So that was my question.
You're right. You're right. Even in the US, there are political families, the Kennedys, the Bush families, and in many cases, this is it runs from generation to generation. Some people have called the US an oligarchy. It is true, there is only a small number of elites which control power in most countries, even in democracies. In China, you have the party princelings, the people who are at the top echelons of the Communist Party, their children, their nephews. So that happens even in India, even in RSS. There are people, RSS families, you see, it runs in the family. It's almost like Ramakrishna mission, their children will also be devotees, and then some of their children will become monks and nuns. So I'm not per se against that chacha, bhatija, mama, bhanja, those continuities, as you say. It's not everybody's cup of tea, right? Politics is not, it's a very difficult profession. And I do respect our politicians. They get elected, they're always under scrutiny. It's a merciless dog eat dog world. Fine. But here's the rub, that if the entire social mechanism functions on the basis of whom you know, or these networks of caste, community, family, then you're throttling talent. How are outsiders ever going to come in? So at least have a track two. And now हमारे यहाँ track two में क्या होता है? Okay, IAS, IFS, IPS lobbies, many of these again they run in the family. इतना reservation हो गया है, ये हुआ है, वो हुआ है. So what they're saying is you have this lateral entry. They're calling it different names, right? So you can say, okay, some ministers have no popular base, but they've been called for their expertise. We won't take names. We know who we are talking about. And in a way, the current dispensation, they love to work with bureaucrats, ex-bureaucrats. They don't seem to like, democratically elected big leaders. They just want efficient managers who just carry out their bidding. Managers or administrators. So basically, these are very similar. Administrators for politics and government, and managers for corporations and private sector. So, the whole world, it would seem, is run by managers or administrators. But my point is different. My point is that as long as you've got these closed systems, like let's say, we take a thought experiment. First, kije, you want to enter politics. We should have a system in which you send your CV to somebody. Let's say someone interested in Kashmir. I'm just giving an example. Don't take it personally or literally. And the person should say, yeah, join up. Here's a training course. do this internship, we'll place you somewhere, you become, and it is happening also, by the way. I'm not saying it's completely out. Ye ho bhi raha hai. I can tell you there are such mechanisms already. Every MP can recruit, you know, and there are these, both left and right have it. There's a Malge Foundation they're giving. But even then, the fact of the matter is the higher you go, you have less scope. And all the important institutions where there's a lot of money, a lot of power, you will see how the idea is to capture institutional capture and then capture, control, and then putting your own people everywhere and then again control. So I'm saying, where is the democratic dividend of this method of functioning, right? So now coming to corruption. Now, wow, this is such a big topic. And now, राम मंदिर में भी करप्शन के एलिगेशंस आ रहे हैं. इससे बड़ा शर्म और लज्जा का विषय क्या हो सकता है? Therefore, I'm saying no institution, it would seem, is exempt. And it's not only Hindu temples. We know what happens in dargahs. We know what happens in gurdwaras. You know how, SGPC elections, my goodness, they are so hotly contested. And of course, they're not even under government control. Only Hindu temples are under government control. In Tamil Nadu, there's an endowments board. One of the things Vijay said is free it up. So these are very big issues, British time se uske pehle to, temples were looted because there were centers of great wealth, gold. Now, the British came, they started, within quotes, appropriating temple lands, money. Then in our secular India, Tirupati, Vaishno Devi, we started using that money to create universities, other institutions, not for profit. So I'm trying to say something much more fundamental, that I'm not saying there's no corruption elsewhere. There's corruption everywhere. You might even say corruption is a lubricant. Chalo paise de do, kaam karwa lo. But हमारे यहाँ वो नहीं हो रहा है. It's gone to an extreme. What extreme? That in Karnataka, what I used to hear is पैसे भी दो और काम भी नहीं होता है. That's terrible. Secondly, everywhere you create a bottleneck, land records, land transfer, everything to do with land, right? One of the allegations in this Ayodhya thing is, see, land was bought from farmers for X, let's say 2 crores. And within an hour, it's sold from the farmers. Some people buy it and it's sold to the trust, for 20 crores. Now, who are these intermediaries? Of course, these are allegations. There are committees formed. There'll be investigations. We don't know. So I'm not saying anything. My point is, just to finish the point, that can a society in which corruption is so endemic ever progress, ever really do well, ever get its not only democratic but even demographic dividend? So cleaning up our acts, and every few years a new government comes promising a corruption-free, Aam Aadmi Party tried that, Anna Hazare's movement. Then the present dispensation also came. Na khud khaunga, na khane dunga. All these slogans came. And then what happened? So my suggestion here, or my observation, or my analysis, it's not up to individuals. You have to create systems. The systems have to be transparent, and to some extent they are. I'm not disagreeing, because of
Yeah.
UPI, because of digitization.
Yeah.
There is less corruption, but the problem is much deeper. But my point is that just as nepotism, which you mentioned, becomes anti-talent, similarly, corruption also is a way to eliminate ideas or talent or the best outcomes in a situation. And
Yeah.
that is my fear. So, by and large, if you go to other societies, we live right now, we're recording from the US, but I've lived in so many countries, and visited so many countries. Most efficient modern societies are corruption free most of the time. Most
Yes.
of the time. You go to Japan, you go to South Korea, only at the very high level. Even China, there's very little tolerance for corruption, and people who are found to be corrupt, they disappear. See,
Mm.
हमारे यहाँ क्या है? There's no accountability.
There is no accountability.
I challenge you, how many IAS officers have gone to jail for corruption? I can't think of, you'll have to name them on the fingers of one or two hands. Itne kam hai. People who are caught. So the bureaucracy goes away scot free. Politicians, by the way, do go to jail, but they come out and they still win. Some people
Yeah.
win from jail. Their wives go, on their behalf. I mean, it's crazy. So what I'm saying is, politicians already unki chhabi kharab ho chuki hai. They have a bad image. But in corporate life, like in Tamil Nadu politics, there's some big lottery guy. Now we're finding out there are so many cases against him, but he and his family members are in all parties. In the ruling party, that is Vijay's party, in DMK, they are there. Also, in a BJP allied party in Pondicherry, this man, Santiago is his name, he's a lottery king. And he's taken electoral bonds. So, electoral bonds, have also become a means of masking who is paying what, and there's no quid pro quo. In other words, you give see, I was a shareholder in a company, and I found that this company had paid, had given electoral bonds in Sikkim. I said, why?
Mm.
And I found out that they were trying to set up a plant in Sikkim. So see the correlation, see how these things operate.
Mm.
And as I said, corruption is a very large problem, but and so many people have written about it. I'm not sure I have new insights, but my real insight, what I thought in this article was, if you want to harness your democratic dividend, you have to not close the Indian mind or in Indian society, not be obsessed with control, with narrative wars, but you have to open up. You have to have much more tolerance. In my book, I had called it thin skin nationalism. So you can't be so thick skinned that you're like China at times, allegedly, what it does in, with the Uyghurs and whatever, Tibet and all, without blaming anybody or, I'm saying you criticize them till kingdom come. They don't care. They'll do whatever
Yeah.
they want, right? And even here, you notice how the top people are being criticized day and night. Day and night. In fact, all channels except one or two. But in India, the least criticism is not tolerated. Now, how can you come to a conclusion that somebody is anti national? If they are criticizing an
Yeah.
elected leader, for heaven's sake, I elected you, let's say, and let's say I'm not, I have questions about your performance. Don't I have a right to question you? I elected you, I campaigned for you, let's say, I voted for you, I donated to your party. But the moment I raise a question, I'm saying, oh, you're anti Hindu, or you're anti this, you're anti that. That's ridiculous. So I'm saying that unfortunately, though we are a great democracy, though democracy has percolated, as it were, through Panchayati Raj and other institutions to all levels of our society, even then, we are not able to harness the benefit of democracy because, of these mechanisms of command and control and suspicion and intolerance for criticism and openness for ideas and this whole obsession with trying to spin the narrative.
Yeah. I think the only way to get trust, I think there is a trust situation that has to be developed, and the trust is not easy to come by now these days, especially with so many factors that are not only national but also international. You don't know where that idea is coming from unless you vet it, and I think it's a very difficult world to be in at this time. Politically. Yeah, I had like a few more questions, but I think you made you closed it up pretty well. That in summary, that democratic dividend is being ignored, and it should be incorporated, and we have to find ways, or as a nation, to be open minded on.
Absolutely. And I mean, you mentioned trust. Trust can only come through openness, right? And when I'm not afraid to disagree with you, you're not afraid to disagree with me. And today, in the world of AI, you don't know whether the information is contaminated, who has generated it, whether it's reliable. I wrote another article saying that every AI generated image or post should be branded by saying generated by AI, so that human beings and non-human sources
Yeah,
should be distinguished. So I'm so glad that we are human and that we want to build trust through human discussions, interactions, and you can point out our mistakes, no problem, and disagree with us, also no problem. We want to learn. And so, I guess through our vulnerability, through our humanity, and through our good intentions, I hope that, in a world overloaded with content, we can offer some insights to explain things better so that, people who really want to find out what's going on in the world and to make the world a better place can come together in trust and in
absolutely.
friendship.
I feel like in the future we should discuss on if we had to suggest some points how the way forward could be for these, as in the changes or something that can be done at a grassroots level, what those could be. So,
Absolutely. Great point. Thank you, Amritaji. Thank you,
thank
viewers,
you.
for joining us. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel and give us your feedback. Thank you. Until next time for Insight.